Is it working? Please work. All right, I think we're actually going to be working now, folks. Just give this a minute to make sure that it's actually updating. Please work. All right, I think we're actually. All right, it's a small miracle. Okay, a couple of things going on here, folks. So I'm in studio today. I didn't storm chase today. That was a huge mistake. Okay, first of all, if I am too loud, let me know. I have cranked the mic gain up on this mic, and I might be too loud. If I'm too loud, let me know. If first of all, if anybody that's in here could hit the little thumb button like this, that would actually help the video. I've found that that actually does make a difference. So if you could click the little whatever button, I guess that would make me happy. I want to go ahead and mention right off the bat here, folks, that I am having some technical problems because once again, I'm doing a system update, not a Mac update, but I'm actually doing an update with the server that we stream through as a relay. And we're having some problems. Okay, volume sounds good. All right, if you guys don't like the volume, let me know, and I will. I'll do something about it here. Like I said, this camera is up too high too. I moved everything around, and I shouldn't have, but This is a work in progress. Yeah, I got my my haircut yesterday finally. I want to notate a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings here. Severe thunderstorm warnings here in the Texas Panhandle, southern Kansas, central Kansas, and one up here in Nebraska. I want to go ahead and admit everybody that something that's never happened before. I was wrong today. I didn't think that anything was really going to happen today in terms of severe weather, but I was wrong. This doesn't happen very often. I pride myself in being right all the time. Uh, don't tell my girlfriend that. I don't think she's in here, so I think we're safe. But I want to go ahead and go live here and just show everybody what's going on. I do need to cut away for a second here. I actually have somebody that's helping us with a YouTube video here that I need to get back to. So keep an eye here. We do have a risk for severe weather tonight, and I think that we're going to see a couple of more severe thunderstorms. We're also going to be going storm chasing in the next few days, so give me just a second here, and we are going to get everything going here. I am kind of keeping an eye on the chat as well. And, thanks again for joining me, everybody. It seems like we have a lot more people here in the evenings, so I'm going to try to be streaming in the evenings. We've been streaming in the mornings a lot. It just doesn't work well, but can't control the weather, unfortunately. Okay, so like I said, I'm actually getting some help on a YouTube video, YouTube collaboration here, um, and that's what that's all about. So a good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I want to go ahead and put the chat on screen here. I see lots of people coming in. Thank you, folks. We're going to be talking about some severe weather. We have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in effect right now. The severe thunderstorm warnings are for Lipscomb County, Texas, Clark, Kiowa, Comanche, and Ford counties, Kansas, Rush and Ellis counties, Kansas, and Dawson County, Nebraska. And we're going to be live with that in just a minute here. I want to go ahead and tweet out that we are live so that we can get our viewers and everything in here. I don't have any sort of automated way to do this. I am working on it, but thanks for bearing with me. My screenshots always go to the wrong area, though. Basically, what I'm working on right now with the YouTube channel is incorporate into what we're doing to get a broader audience in preparation for our live stream. So you're going to see a lot of TikTok style YouTube shorts coming out as well over the next couple of days. And sorry, this camera is really pointed too low, but I can't do a whole lot about that. I'll actually give you a little bit of a look at what I'm doing here. This is typically what I do. I'll tweet out when we start a live stream. tag our friends. So that's typically how we do it right there. So first things first, I'll go ahead and look at the chat here again in a second. I want to go and start from south, and we'll go north. So this is looking at Radar Omega. This is our favorite application to use. I use this while storm chasing all the time. We have a non-severe storm down here near Lubbock. That is a special weather statement. That means that there's gusty winds and small hail. It's not severe criteria, but that's moving off to the east-northeast toward Lubbock, so you do need to keep an eye on that, especially areas and interests south of Lubbock. Not immediately concerning right now. Amarillo and areas just east of Amarillo, south of I-40, you've got another special weather statement here and here. Those are areas that we do need to keep an eye on for further development, but not immediately likely to see a severe storm there, but we could see one later. Way up here in the northeast panhandle, we have a severe thunderstorm warning as well. That one is, this is Lipscomb County. This expires in 5 minutes. It's a severe thunderstorm 5 miles southwest of Lipscomb, Texas, moving east at 15 miles per hour for quarter-sized hail, and that's radar indicated. And no wind there, surprisingly. So we'll keep an eye on that as that expires. It's eventually going to impact Woodward, Oklahoma. Another severe thunderstorm warning here, southeast of Dodge City, Kansas. This expires in 20 minutes. This is a severe thunderstorm warning near Clark State Lake, moving to the northeast at 20. 60 mile per hour wind gusts and quarter-sized hail is radar indicated with this storm as well. If we go ahead and really zoom into the local level, Greensburg, which was impacted by a very devastating tornado back in the day, you are in the path of this severe thunderstorm if it maintains its integrity as it moves off to the northeast. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see what happens. But right now, this is a fairly rural area south of Highway 54 here, southeast of Dodge City. And these blue boxes here, west and north of Dodge City, are more special weather statements. We'll cover those here in a little bit. A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Hays, Kansas, which is along I-70. That severe thunderstorm warning box right there includes, let's see here, nickel-sized hail and 60 mile per hour winds for Rush and Ellis counties for the next 20 minutes or so. And then we have one up here just north of Lexington, Nebraska, just north of I-80. You can see North Platte on the left, and you can also see Kearney on the right. So we are halfway between Kearney and North Platte, and we have a severe thunderstorm warning near Lexington right now. It expires in the next half hour for 60 mile per hour wind gusts and 1 inch hail. I think that's all of them. All right, so if you are in a blue box on this map, you have a special weather statement. Now that means gusty winds less than 55 miles per hour, possibly some small hail. Nothing really to worry about too much. You can see we've also got some of those blue boxes back in Idaho. That's pretty routine. What we're concerned about are these yellow boxes here. These are severe thunderstorm warnings. This large green circle here, that's the marginal risk for severe weather today. That's where we can expect to see some severe weather possibly. And unfortunately, this town only has a McDonald's, so yeah. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining. Just peeking through the chat here. I see a lot of folks that we know. We are going to be storm chasing tomorrow as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Get back to our... We are preparing to hit YouTube hard. I have got somebody working on hopefully the most best thumbnail we've ever used. And we're going to start releasing at least 2 a week until we're out. Eventually I will run out, but we are going to start slamming YouTube with tornado video from the past. Minimal editing, but color graded. Minimal editing so you can see the whole thing. Just we need to get more content on there. So I've got an editor working with me that's going to help me with that. And of course, we're going to be splitting some of the ad revenue with him as well. But we are just going to bombard the YouTube algorithm so that we can get some speedy growth here to get ready for winter storm chasing on the channel here and get lots and lots of subscribers and viewers. And we're just going to bombard the YouTube algorithm with as much tornado video as we possibly can. I'm actually going to be going through and deleting a lot of old tornado video that maybe wasn't edited very well or doesn't have many views. Delete it. We're going to repost it. So make sure you're definitely subscribed if you're new here. Storm Chaser sweatpants? I don't know of any Storm Chaser sweatpants. If somebody was talking about us adding it to the store, that's very possible because I don't personally run the store. Nikki and Carrie do. So it's very possible. I'm sure that they're on the way if that's the case. Our severe thunderstorm warning here in northeast Texas Panhandle has expired. And if you folks, hang on, it's really cold in here, so I'm actually running a space heater. I actually don't control the AC for the building, and it's just super cold. I came in here and it was like 63 degrees. Had to turn that off. So, folks, if you do have a specific area that you want me to focus on, you can put it in the chat. I probably am going to miss it. So if it looks like I'm getting to the end of saying something, feel free to dump it in the chat until I notice it. I keep trying to look. My chat's actually over here on a separate vertical monitor, so I try to keep as much eye on it as I can, but it goes by super fast. Do I make any do any chases in Canada? Yes, but I have not this year. It's kind of a pain because you either need to be north or south of the border because sometimes going through customs is a little bit of a challenge. I did have some problems once going through customs, whereas they were concerned that I was working without a permit, which technically I was, but it comes down to like I basically explained to them, I'm like, look, here's the deal. I can't forecast tornadoes down to the minute. Like, how do you want me to get a permit for a certain day period? And they were fine, but there's just always a lot of questions because you come in and they're like, well, when are you going to leave? I'm like, I have no idea, and that raises red flags. So you basically either need to be in Canada or be out of Canada for a storm chase, because if you're trying to cross that border and you get questioned and it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 hours at the border, you're probably going to miss storms. Favorite song to listen to when storm chasing? No. I actually usually listen to the news, to be honest with you. Durham, Kansas. Where is Durham, Kansas? I should know where that is. Hang on, we're gonna pull it up on Apple Maps. Gosh darn it. Come on. I just gotta see where Durham is. I know where Durham, North Carolina is. Oh, north of Wichita. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so Durham, we're concerning this area here. In fact, I think it's that intersection there. You can see that all of these storms are off to the west here of the Durham, Wichita, Manhattan, Topeka area. This green line right here, that is the eastward extent of the severe weather marginal risk area. So anybody that's out here, out east of this green circle, probably will not see severe weather, but it's possible that a strong storm or two could stray outside of that area. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. Long range forecast for Springfield, Missouri. I'm not seeing a whole lot for severe weather in the Springfield area. I'm not familiar with the long range forecast, of course, but severe weather wise, I'm really not seeing a whole lot. But we're actually going to look at some models here in a minute. I want to touch real quickly on the National Hurricane Center because we actually have a tropical storm out there to contend with. Hang on one second here. So we are in the weather studio today, if you will. I fixed my keyboard. Indeed was a dead battery. You can see kind of a wider view of the studio here. It's much smaller than you think it is. Still working on the background. But I want to go ahead and take a look at the National Hurricane Center. Tropical Storm Fiona has been named out there in the Atlantic. We're going to look at this on Radar Omega here shortly. But you can see that this yellow circle, that is the area of tropical storm force winds right now, I think. Or is that depression? I'm pretty sure that's tropical. Yeah, it's tropical storm. So this cone here is where this circulation could be between now and 2 p.m. on Tuesday. And you can see Puerto Rico needs to be, not concerned, but interested in the storm. If you or anybody you know that lives in Puerto Rico, you're under a tropical storm watch in this yellow outline. Tropical storm warnings in effect for the islands east of Puerto Rico. But Puerto Rico, which is, of course, U.S. territory, and I am not totally ruling out a Puerto Rican intercept, but it's probably not going to happen, is under a tropical storm watch. Hurricane warnings for the islands here east of there. But we have a lot of uncertainty. And this is reason number one why I need a green screen or something so I can point at this. But as you can see here, we could have the center of circulation go to the, if you watch my cursor, the east or the west side of that. And I was talking about this with several other weather folks, meteorologists, storm chasers, and We're not sure. Some of the models have this going out west into the Gulf or Florida or even South North Carolina. Some of them have it curving up toward Bermuda and pulling an Earl. So we're not 100% sure what's going to happen. If you live anywhere in the southeast US, just be prepared just in case she does come into the Gulf or it does come into the southeast coast. But there's no reason to panic right now. We've got plenty of time. Look where it's supposed to be here at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. That's well away from the US. So even if it looks like this is going to make a more westerly track, we have plenty of time to prepare if things change. But right now, it's not looking very likely. So that's Tropical Storm Fiona. Let's take a real quick look at the East Pacific. Yeah, Shane, there is a lot of wind shear issues with this as well, as was Earl. We also have Tropical Depression East 13, which is right here. I think we've got a cone on that as well. This thing is actually forecast. This is Mexico, by the way, if you're not familiar with the topography or geography. Tropical storm warning is in effect here. It's expected to make landfall as a tropical storm on the west coast of Mexico at 1 p.m. on Saturday. I'm not going to cover that too much because I doubt we have that many folks in Mexico watching this. I just really don't think that the people here in southwest Mexico are getting their information from me right now. But if they are, you folks are under a tropical storm warning. You can see we have a new severe thunderstorm warning that we need to take care of and tend to here. It's south of Lubbock, Texas. And I want to go ahead and look at this on the higher resolution radar. If you're not familiar with Radar Omega, we've got two options for radar here. We can use this MRMS, which is a national composite, but it's lower resolution. It's all the radar sites, so we don't have to switch between them. But if we want to look at high resolution radar, we got to go to the single site radar and pick the closest radar site, which is going to be Lubbock right here. Let's focus our attention here on this yellow box right there. And there it goes, it updated right there. You can see it looks like we might even have a hail core. That's this bright purple near Brownfield. You've also got a secondary cell to its south along Highway 385 there between Brownfield and Seminole. Let's see what this severe thunderstorm warning is for. It's for 1.75-inch hail and 60 miles per hour wind gusts. That's Lynn County, Terry County, and Hockley County. And it's only moving at 5 miles per hour. I don't know if we've got any population out in the path of this thing. We can find out though. Yeah, there's no population out in the path of this. We have a storm track that I drew there and it's empty. So that's good news as well. I'm going to go ahead and play that for a moment while I check on the chat. This is a severe thunderstorm we're watching near Brownfield, Texas. But thank you again, everybody, for joining me, subscribing, and all that. I am on, hate to say it, but we are on TikTok now. We're just using it as a way to boost some of the YouTube activity. You can find links on my website, seethestorm.com, and I did pin that in the comments as well. Is this a new warning? I think this is a new warning. It is. We've got a warning for Sublette, Kansas. Saw a really photogenic supercell here back in 2021. It's for 1-inch hail and 60 miles per hour winds. Expires in 37 minutes. This is for Seward and Haskell County until 6:15. A severe thunderstorm is located near Satanta, moving east at 15 miles per hour. Locations impacted include Sublette, Kansas. You can see the storm right here. Does it actually have a time for Sublette, or do we need to figure that out on our own? Moving east at 15. Draw a storm track on that. This thing is pegged to be in Sublette in about 40 minutes. Are you kidding me? This is a slow mover. Sublette, I would expect this storm probably within about 30. I wouldn't be surprised if it speeds up a bit. But Sublette and then Tice in over an hour. So this is a pretty rural area of Kansas, thankfully. Sarah's got a super chat in there. Thank you, Sarah. Folks like you that do super chats or YouTube members, keep these live streams possible. as they are fairly expensive to maintain. So thank you, Sarah. Oops. My target area today, if I did storm chase, was actually going to be, I was actually watching this area here, and I was watching this area here. So no matter where we would have went, I think we would have seen some storms. But here's the reason why we're not storm chasing. My youngest daughter's birthday party is Saturday. We also have a festival in town. In my town, it's called Cheese Days. It's dumb. It's really dumb, but this is stuff that my family wants to go to here in southern Wisconsin. So I am not necessarily, if any of these days were tornado outbreak days or really, really big severe days, I would be out there. So here's my plan. Tomorrow we've got a slight risk for severe weather. I'll draw it on the map. It's right here. I'm not going to be chasing it unless something happens. If something changes, we'll hightail it out there as fast as possible. It doesn't look like a big event. But what I'm watching is Saturday. This area right here, especially right there just west of Des Moines. That's kind of the bullseye right here where I'm thinking we're going to need to be chasing storms, maybe tornadoes on Saturday. Now, this is going to work out great because my daughter's birthday party gets done at 1, and coincidentally, that's exactly the amount of time that it will take to get from Wisconsin to this target area. It's like it was made to be. So I just don't want to go too far out of the way. And like I said, I chase no matter what because I have to. It is my income. You know, everybody, a lot of folks have to go to work 9 to 5. Well, I have to chase storms. That's just how it works because it is my job. So in order to make this all work out, I am covering this live in the studio. If I would have known that this scenario here was actually going to play out, I would have went out there. I absolutely would have left at about 11 p.m. last night like I had planned. But I honestly didn't think it would. So that's just how it is. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about the dog attack here earlier. I got legitimately attacked by a dog this morning, and I had to call the cops and everything. I was riding, of course, my electric scooter to go get the mail, and I'm not even kidding, folks. A dog literally came out of nowhere and bit onto the bottom of my shoe. In fact, hang on. In fact, this was already previously damaged, but the dog got a grip of the tongue of my shoe. There's some pierced marks in it, and started like ripping me off of my scooter. So I had to take some evasive action here and a little bit of physical persuasion to remove the dog from my foot. And then some lady came running up to me, screaming at me for trying to remove the dog from me because apparently I'm an animal abuser now, which is not the case. But this dog was huge and was trying to bite and eat my foot. So I ended up calling the cops because right after I got away from it and was able to chase it off, it actually went after somebody on a bike and darn near knocked him off a bike. Um, and of course, the cop that showed up like wasn't even interested. He was kind of like, "Why did you call?" And it's like because this dog about bit my foot off, and there was nobody around. I have no idea what happened to it. I have no idea who owned it. It was definitely not a good situation this morning. Definitely not a good situation. Probably not the dog's fault. Probably the owner's fault for not taking care of it. Because, like I said, I have no idea where it came from. No idea. We got a new severe thunderstorm warning here. It's from Hastings, Nebraska. It's for Dawson County and south central Nebraska until 6:15 p.m. So at 5:40 p.m., severe storms were located near Lexington, moving northeast at 30. Hazard is currently 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. It is only radar indicated. This does include Interstate 80 between mile markers 230 and 240, which is right there. But thank you, folks, for joining me. How did the models handle Hurricane Earl? Eventually, they handled it well, but it definitely went out to sea. So they were right. Let's talk about the severe weather forecast. Let's pull that up real quick. I'm not going to be live for too long. I've got a lot of YouTube stuff to get done here, but I did want to definitely go live since I saw a bit of a severe weather event happening. Which models handled it? All the major, GFS, Wharf, they all handled it pretty well. Let's see here. How do I do this? There we go. This is mesoscale discussion number 1785. And this area here, this is Nebraska, this is Kansas. This area is highlighting parts of Nebraska. It says a watch issuance possibility is only 5%. Watch is not likely. So basically the the Storm Prediction Center, it's definitely not a hurricane. The Storm Prediction Center is indicating this area of Nebraska here, right there, does have some severe weather potential, but they're not expecting it to be enough to issue a severe thunderstorm watch. So that's definitely good news. Here again is a detailed look at where that marginal risk for severe weather is today. You can see it's a big area. It stretches from South Dakota all the way down to Lubbock. Tomorrow, that's our slight risk. You can see it right there. North Platte's right where my cursor is. It's for northwest Nebraska. This is a tough area to stream from. Not to chase, but to stream from. There's very, very little phone service out in this area. Very tough. No tornado risk, only a wind risk being depicted. I think of any of the days, that's a good one to sit out. This is the marginal risk here on day 3. I'm going to go ahead and actually pull that up on Radar Omega. So we've got a huge marginal risk, and I think they made such a big risk here. It looks like they left room to incorporate a slight risk. Now, take this as an unofficial forecast, but I would suspect a slight risk to be placed probably right about there. At least on the day 1. Actually, probably more like here. Wouldn't be surprised if this area here goes slight. But this area in the green is under a marginal risk for severe weather on Saturday afternoon and evening. And we're going to look at the models, and I'm going to show you why. It shows possible supercells developing here in West Iowa, moving east and then forming a squall line and then tracking farther east into eastern Iowa. So like I said, right now, my biggest target area, I think, is right here. Now, that's subject to change, and it's possible that that actually moves a little bit farther east. And, of course, we will be storm chasing that live. Sunday is a little iffy. The Storm Prediction Center is not even really acknowledging it. But we could have a lagging behind severe weather threat here as well. But then later on, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we could be looking at more severe weather here across parts of the plains. So we do need to keep an eye out for the next few days. Let's go ahead and look at some satellite images here. Take a look at the tropics. If I can click the right thing here, where's Atlantic? I think this is still in the FDR region. I need to wait a second for this to load. Okay, I might not be in the proper... Need to pick from the proper satellite view. We're not populating here for a reason. What's going on here? This is kind of strange. Waits anxiously for the satellite to populate. I wonder if there's a problem with the IR product. There it is. Okay, so we can see right here, this is Tropical Storm Fiona on infrared satellite. You can see it's out there. Here's Puerto Rico. You can see it's well east of Puerto Rico. If we loop this over the past hour, I believe the center of circulation is still out here. Let's give this a second to load. My computer is being a little bit goofy. regardless. Tropical storm Fiona currently has 60 mile per hour winds and, or I'm sorry, yeah, 60 mile per hour sustained winds and 70 mile per hour wind gusts. It's moving due west. The pressure is kind of high. It's at 1,006 millibars right now. I don't think they have this pegged to be a hurricane at all, period. Hurricane Center does actually have a maintaining tropical storm status as it moves over Puerto Rico and just, and I mean just barely north of the islands here, Dominican Republic. Good Lord. Haiti. If it takes more of a westerly track and goes over land, it's going to be more difficult for it to intensify because of the mountainous terrain. If it can stay and thread the needle here and stay just north of those islands, then it's got a better chance at being a stronger hurricane, but it's also got a better chance of going back out to sea then. So what we want is for it to kind of curve here and not impact any land, obviously. Yeah, thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. We've actually got another half of the studio behind the camera. It's just not fully set up yet. The whole idea is I think we're going to put a green screen over there just simply so we can actually remove this background and make the radar bigger and put me over the radar. So we'll see what we can do. Shane's right. The center of circulation is a little bit farther west. It's like right about here. Than the convection. It's the shear. So there's really, really strong winds aloft, and it's just pushing the tops off of these clouds. And that's been an issue all year. Even Earl had some problems with that as well. Let's go ahead and go back to radar. I think we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. Hang on, I gotta mute the mic. Okay, that should be a little better. I had to angle it different. Let's see. Let's go back here. I'm glad all you folks could be with us here today. This is a new severe thunderstorm warning just east of Amarillo, Armstrong County in the Panhandle, Randall County, Carson County, and Potter County. Now under a severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to give this a second to populate. I think I found my problem. Let me check in with our video editor here real quick. Like I said, he's been back and forth asking me a couple of questions here, and I'm trying to respond promptly. I see a lot of familiar folks out there in the chat. Awesome. Like I said, if you have areas that you want to see me cover, God, I gotta fix this camera. That's a little better. That you want to see me cover, no problem. Just put it in the chat. Sometimes I can't see it because the chat does go by so quickly, but I try to keep an eye on it here in my peripheral vision. Okay, we've got a high resolution radar on radar Omega right here of the storm near Amarillo, Texas. We are live doing severe weather coverage here. If you are new here, hit the subscribe and the little thumbs up like button. That actually helps this channel a lot when it comes to live storm chasing. The way the YouTube algorithm works, the more people that like the video, watch the video, share the video, subscribe, super chat, memberships, all that. When we are live, it does promote it more. So that's why we kind of push that. So I appreciate everyone for joining me. This yellow box, it does include the east half of the Amarillo metro area, is now severe thunderstorm warned. So we're going to focus on this one because it does include that populated area. 1¼ inch hail, 1¼ inch hail for Armstrong, Randall, Carson, and Potter County with 60-mile-per-hour gusts for the next 51 minutes. If we play back the past 45 minutes worth of frames on this, give it a minute to load here. Oh, look at this. We've got a outflow boundary interaction here, it looks like. Look at this feature moving across the screen like that. Right there. That is an outflow boundary interacting with the storm, most likely caused it to intensify. Very nice. Lots of lightning in this storm. Let's go ahead and take a look at velocity. We're really close to the radar here. Let me go up a tilt. So the radar site is right here. It's actually, I think it's at the airport. I've seen it many times. But you can see some higher values right here. Now, it could be just cluttered because we're so close to the radar site, but these values here definitely do look like we could be realizing that 60-mile-per-hour wind. Thanks for the member message there, Jay. Glad that you're a part of us. And of course are a member, so thank you very much. So this severe thunderstorm warning is moving off. I do believe, let me get the vector on this again. This is moving east at 20 miles per hour. It's exiting Amarillo. But with this outflow boundary right here moving off to the west-southwest, we need to keep an eye on any further development. So vector on this again. 20 miles per hour. I'm going to go ahead and draw a storm track from the hail core. So this is these times that I'm going to show on screen. This is an exclusive Radar Omega feature. You're not going to find this in Radar Scope or anything like that. It's really nice. We've got a storm track that we can draw on the severe thunderstorm warning. This is for the hail core. This is the strongest part of the storm. This is not for the leading edge of precipitation. It's going to start raining and the wind's going to start blowing before these times. But Washburn, Texas, you've got 14 minutes. Yarnall, you've got 20 minutes. Conway, you've got 46. If we extend beyond the severe thunderstorm warning polygon, Lark, you've got just over an hour, and Groom, you have just over an hour and a half. Groom, Texas being right here, severe thunderstorm warning cutting off here. But if this storm continues past the severe thunderstorm warning polygon, Groom, you have an hour and a half. Conway, you've got 45 minutes. Yarnall, just under 20, and Washburn, about 15 minutes before you start getting the strongest portion of the storm here. If we actually draw a storm track out from the leading edge of the storm, for the times that we expect precipitation to begin falling, we can expect the leading edge of the storm to be in Conway in about 20 minutes and Lark in about 44 minutes. So this storm is moving off to the east. I would expect areas like Claude to receive some strong winds, but I think the hail core is going to drive itself right just south of I-40 between these purple lines right here that I drew. I think that has the most or the greatest hail threat. Claude, I think you're going to stay out of the hail. Panhandle, I'm pretty sure you're going to stay out of the hail as well, hopefully. But these areas on and just south of I-40, especially between 287, which is this highway right here, and I-40, you folks are probably going to get hammered with some of this bigger hail. In fact, we can use hydrometeor classification. This is a radar product with dual pole radar. It's tough to see being so close to the radar site. Hydrometeor classification basically will tell us what type of precipitation is in this storm. We got to go ahead and load up a higher tilt. And you can see here with the inspector tool, we do have large hail, LH, that's large hail being indicated in the red. So these red areas here are most likely to have the largest hail, especially these darker reds, right at that where I-40 and 287, just east of where those two come together. A lot of lightning in the storm as well, indicated by those clouded ground bolts. Do I watch Mike's Weather on YouTube? I have never heard of him. Yeah, well, Radar Omega has come a long way. When they first came out, they were good, but they lacked a lot. And they used to use Google Maps, and now they use Mapbox as a map provider. So it's really it's improved a lot in the terms of mapping and how responsive it is. What does the outflow boundary do to storm intensity? Sometimes it can cause the storm to collapse. Sometimes it can cause the storm to breathe better, so to speak, or intensify. Basically, what's happening is it's often a shift in the temperature, in the wind direction, and that can cause the storm to be in a more favorable environment. Without really drawing a bunch of pretty pictures here, it's a little bit difficult to explain, but basically, it's a storm scale interaction that's giving the storm either some enhanced vorticity or sometimes you can see these storms ride or attach themselves on an outflow boundary and essentially ride it, and then the storm will move with the outflow boundary. Oftentimes, it's basically what an outflow boundary is there were some storms earlier that left some cooler air, and there was a wind shift. So there's like a big pool of air that's different than the surrounding air. So you can see that being picked up. It's more diffuse right now. It's right here, and you can see it really well right there, moving off to the southwest. And basically, what that is, it's picking up uh, uh, dust, bugs, particulate, maybe some light rain droplets, and the radar can see that. And so it's basically just a kind of a wall of wind, if you will, even though it's really not necessarily like. Don't think of it as like a gust front or anything, but it's kind of like an outflow boundary. It's not like you're going to get smacked with 60-mile-an-hour winds from it, but it's definitely noteworthy. In fact, if I was standing here near Canyon, Texas, it very well could be much warmer than it is in Claude, Texas, because maybe some cooler air has come back with that outflow boundary. Let's see here. I want to go ahead and cover a couple of other areas. We're severe thunderstorm warned again up here near Higgs. I think I have a closer radar site. Dodge City. Beautiful storm chasing terrain down here. Let's go ahead and look at Dodge City radar. This is just north of Canadian. We've got Canadian, Texas right there, Shattuck there, and a bigger town that I'm sure you're familiar with is Woodward, Texas, or Oklahoma. Right here is the Texas Panhandle and the Oklahoma border. We've got Texas right here, Oklahoma right there. And thanks, folks, for using your member messages. I didn't even know those were a thing. And appreciate you folks being members, supporting the stream. Severe thunderstorm warning here now just west of Higgins. This severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for another hour. It's 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So bring your trash cans inside and prepare maybe for a little bit of hail, but I doubt we have many people watching from this area. Look at this rural area. However, this looks like this could impact Higgins, Goodwin, and Shattuck, whatever. Uh, this storm is in a pretty rural area. It looks like it might have a hail core, which is indicated by those higher reflectivity returns here. There's a severe thunderstorm warning with 70-mile-per-hour winds. Thanks for the super chat, Jay. Always appreciate it. I'm sure we will see you on our next live. I think you're on like every live stream we do, which is awesome. And thanks for being a member and all the support, Jay. And the super chat, of course. Don't thank me for the coverage, folks. Thank everybody that's a member, has done PayPal contributions, bought merchandise, or is a channel member, or simply hits the like button and subscribe. Thank those people for the live coverage, because without you, the viewers, and thank yourself, obviously, for watching it, because without you guys, I don't have an audience and I can't do this. So I appreciate everybody thanking me, but definitely thank the other folks on the chat, because you guys all make this possible. You guys allow me to sit in a building in a town of like no people with purple lights behind me and then drive into tornadoes all the time. So we have an upgraded severe thunderstorm warning here near Sublette and Satanta, Kansas. These are for 70-mile-per-hour winds. Somebody just put it in the chat. I can't scroll up. Somebody put it in the chat. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. Thank that person. For another 10 minutes, we've got 1.25 inch hail and 60. Oh, it just upgraded to 60-mile-per-hour winds. So this is back down again. This was at 70-mile-per-hour wind gust, but it's back down to 60. So Sublette, Setanta, you folks are getting hammered with a strong thunderstorm right now with possibly some 1 to 1.25 inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. It's moving off to the east. Plains and Copeland and areas just south of Sublette should probably prepare for this. Bring the trash cans inside and park your vehicles inside. 1 inch hail usually won't damage your vehicle too much. But if it's driven by wind, it can. And honestly, some of these newer vehicles that are made out of aluminum, Ford, do dent a lot easier. Ask me how I know. Let's see. Do we have any other severe thunderstorm warnings to cover real quick? I want to cover our severe thunderstorm warnings and then we'll zoom back out. We are continuing a severe thunderstorm warning with coverage here north of Lexington, Nebraska. This is I-80 right here. And this is a severe thunderstorm that is currently moving off to the northeast for 1 inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. It's in effect for another 10 minutes. Areas northeast of Lexington, Eddyville, and areas along 183 and Highway 40, kind of between Oconto and 183, right there along 40, you're going to get the brunt of this storm, but it almost looks like the storm is kind of spilling over its polygon. This yellow box here, of course, is our severe thunderstorm warning. I'm actually going to go ahead here. That was weird. I'm actually going to go ahead here and make these a little bit easier to see. There we go. I thickened them up. Thank you, Omega, for being customizable. But you can see this. These yellow boxes, if you're not familiar, are severe thunderstorm warnings. These get issued for high winds and hail. Let's see here. It is starting to spill out of the boundary of the polygon, so we're going to keep an eye out to see if they issue a severe thunderstorm warning for this area or not. If they do, we'll go back to it. Is this a new? No, that's blood. We've covered that. We've covered that. We've covered that. All right, let's go back to the lower resolution, but national radar here. $2,000 for a tailgate? Holy smokes. I guess that doesn't really surprise me, though. Body work is expensive. Okay, so we had previously, let's zoom into the Lubbock, Texas area. We previously had a severe thunderstorm warning on this cell. It's expired. It's done. No more severe thunderstorm warning on that storm. That's the one there that's just south of Brownfield, Texas. And once again, it is no longer severe thunderstorm warned. Still have our severe thunderstorm warning here for Amarillo. It's approaching Claude, Panhandle. I've got a storm here that's not severe thunderstorm warned, but it's catching my eye near Memphis, Texas in the Panhandle. We're going to keep an eye on that as it moves off to the east, just in case that goes severe thunderstorm warned. We should start making bets in the chat about which storm is going to be severe thunderstorm warned next. That'd be kind of fun. Maybe we'll do that next time, and we'll have a leader. Maybe we can like have a leaderboard like on the side and take bets, and like somebody gets a free shirt. I don't know. That'd be fun. Oh my goodness, we've got a new stray severe thunderstorm warning, or a new stray special weather statement. Where is David? David Lilly, are you in here? Guys, we got to get David capable of patching into the stream, and we'll put his head right below or above mine. We'll put David in here. David's really good here with the radar as well. Can't do it right now, but I need to work on a way to patch him in. That'd be kind of fun. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning near Cherokee, Oklahoma. I'm sorry, a special weather statement near Cherokee, Oklahoma for gusty winds and small hail as it moves off to the northeast toward Anthony, Kansas. That one's catching my eye as well. See if that further develops. A couple areas here I want to draw your attention to. I need a camera back here so I can like point at the screen. That's gonna be our next project. Severe thunderstorm warning, yellow box right there for Sublette, Kansas, north of Liberal, southwest of Dodge City. Special weather statement over here, southeast of Dodge. Special weather statement for gusty winds near Buckland and Mullinville, Highway 54. We've got a couple of severe, I gotta stop saying that, special weather statement polygons here near Hayes and Russell. And then, goodness, what is the name of this town up here? Kensington, that's right. I stop in that town a lot for gas, I think. Kensington, special weather statement. I use StreamYard? Absolutely not. I hate StreamYard. I'm just not a StreamYard fan. No, we were running OBS, but we run vMix. But we have ways to bring people in. It's just there's an audio issue where the way that we're streaming is really complicated. It's not really how other YouTubers stream. We have a lot of redundancy, so we actually end up with an audio loop. So I need to isolate the local audio from the stream audio because the stream is redundant. There's actually another computer running the stream right now in the cloud in case this one fails. Long story. When will I decide about chasing in Iowa? Oh, we're gonna go. It's just a matter of where, and we'll be able to decide on that probably tomorrow or the next day. Special weather statements out here in eastern Colorado. Let me loop this here. I've got an important message I need to check here. All right. Okay, I gotta put the chat up for a second. Between McCook and Norton. In that area. Yeah, lots of special weather statements popping up here. Hang on 1 second. Where's our chat? What in the world? There we go. All right, folks. I actually just received some logo files and basically some work here for our next YouTube video, and I am by the work that our editor did. Holy cow. I'm going to give you guys a real quick preview here. Oops. Okay, I guess I can't. I was going to give you a preview here of our next thumbnail. Or our next video. Oh my goodness, come on, computer. I am just so used to Windows that I keep using the wrong shortcuts. I am so lost right now. We will return to severe weather coverage momentarily. Stand by. What in the... Trying to give you guys a preview here of our next the next YouTube video that's going to be released. And just used the wrong keyboard shortcut, and I'm pretty sure that I just deleted the file. God. I have to screenshot this because I don't want too much of this to be shared, or it's going to ruin the surprise. So I got to crop out some information on this. Thanks for joining me, by the way, everyone. Where do the Mac screenshots go when you download them? Go to the desktop, don't they? All right, I'm going to give you a brief. This is going to be our next video. So this is going to be a re-edit of the Crowell, Texas tornado. That's going to be coming out. OMG. But that's what we have to do for our thumbnails anymore. And we're working on this one. This is going to be the Selden, Kansas tornado. That's actually going to be a YouTube short that's going to be coming out in about 30 minutes on YouTube Shorts. So definitely go look at my channel for those. This story of the day that I left my girlfriend in front of a tornado. Funny you should say that, Bob. I've used Mac products longer or Apple products longer than I've used anything Windows, but I just can't for some reason, like I don't know if it's like the command thing, but the the placement I just the keyboard shortcuts, like I only remember Windows shortcuts. I always forget the Mac shortcuts. Look at this, thunderstorm warnings. 1, 2, 3. Jay wants to know how much it would cost to leave his ex-wife in front of a tornado. Send me a private message. I'll get you a quote. Got a no longer a severe thunderstorm here near Liberal. This was a severe thunderstorm warning near Liberal, Kansas. It's expired. It just expired. In fact, I bet you this one here expires pretty soon also. Let's go ahead and cover this one in Amarillo again. That's a populated area. What am I doing wrong? Oh. My fault. Our storm doesn't look as healthy now, but it is over the radar site. So our radar site is literally right here. So radar signals, obviously, they go out in a circle. And they go out almost straight or just barely above the horizon. Now, believe it or not, the Earth is not flat. I know that's a really tough concept for some people. If you're new here, you don't get the joke, but if you've been here a while, you understand the joke because I literally unloaded on some flat earthers like 7-8 months ago and it was pretty funny. But anyway, because the Earth is not flat and it's round, as the curvature, I'll draw you a picture. Here's the Earth. Okay, here is the radar site, not to scale. It's okay. This is terrible. I have to redo this. We're gonna have a lesson on radar. Let me go out into no man's land here. Actually, hang on. This is actually kind of interesting to some folks. So let's go out in the middle of nowhere and pretend that we're using Microsoft Paint. So I'm gonna draw the Earth, and it's going to be a circle. Actually, I'm not going to do it that way. We're going to draw a part of the Earth. No, I'm having a really tough time drawing the Earth. I'm going to draw half the Earth. Okay, that's half of the Earth. It's curved, right? Here is our radar site. It's going to be sitting up here, and it's going to be red. That's our radar site. It's sending out a beam like that, okay? Now I'm going to draw you a thunderstorm. Allow me. Thunderstorm. With tornado. Okay. I'm going to draw you another thunderstorm. Now these radar beams go out in all directions. The antenna spins, okay? So it's also sending out a beam in this direction too. So for the sake of simplicity, we're going to draw our other thunderstorm really close to the radar site with tornado. So, man, I drew that way too close to the top. I'm sorry. I am terrible at this. There's actually, the National Weather Service actually has a graphic for this. But I may have to contact them. They may want to license this one from me. But if we can see this storm cell right here is farther away from the radar and see that because of the curvature of the Earth, the radar beam is slicing into the storm higher up. It doesn't necessarily see this tornado. I know we don't have a tornado in Amarillo right now, but it's the same principle. This storm is much closer. Look where it's slicing into the storm. It's closer to the surface. It's closer to that tornado. So we're going to see that tornado on radar. This one we might not. That's why severe weather spotters and chasers are important. Now, when this storm here, if we get a thunderstorm, let's say a yellow one, to form right over the radar site, the beam is going out, okay? The beam is going out. So this area, this part of the thunderstorm right here, that's above where the radar beam is. So it's directly above and just out like a cone, just above the radar site. We don't actually see that on the radar. We cannot see it. It's that is actually referred to as the cone of silence. They incorrectly used that term in the movie Twister, which I'm not a fan of. But that was incorrectly used. So that's where the cone of silence term comes from. So since this storm is pretty much right over the radar, you can now most likely accurately pick out the cone of silence where we have no precipitation on radar right there. And there's probably precipitation in there, but we can't see it because it's in the cone of silence. So allow that to be our lesson in radar today. That's why the storm looks really goofy right now. There most likely is precipitation back here, but we just don't see it because it's over top of that radar. The radar, think of the radar now, it has different tilts. So as that, the radar antenna, it's directional. It's a big satellite dish looking thing. As it's going around, it's also going up. And it'll go up all the way, I think, to like 6 degrees or something like that. Or maybe even higher. I don't remember what the actual tilt degree is for the highest tilt. Somebody will correct me, I'm sure. But think of it like a donut, and the donut hole is where the radar is. It's like if anybody's familiar with radio waves or RF, it's very similar. If you think of like an isotropic antenna, an antenna in free space with no obstruction, it's like a donut. Where let's say that the center of my hands here is the radar site, like my nose is the radar. So directly above it, there's radio silence. So that's why that is. So that's kind of a long explanation of how radar works. I hope that I have bored everybody now. I'm going to actually clip that later and put that on YouTube. That was kind of funny. But now we know. I did forget to draw the mountain. That'll be another time. That was the other day. But this storm doesn't look too great. Doesn't look too healthy, but it is a supercell, and it is east of Amarillo now. It's getting into the more less populated areas. I would say the strongest portion of it is between I-40 and Highway 287, but it does appear to be gusting out. We don't have those bright, pretty hail core colors anymore. That is not related to the cone of shame that I know of, but that's unconfirmed. Still holding on to a severe thunderstorm warning up here just to the west of Higgins, or northwest of Higgins, for another 40 minutes for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. By the way, our Amarillo storm is warned for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds for the next 25 minutes. Okay, weather service right on cue. New severe thunderstorm warning just when I said it expired. Take that back. Near Sublette and Meade, Kansas. This is a new warning. It's for 1.5-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds between Sublette and Plains, Kansas. You can see we've got a bowing structure. I already drew you a pretty picture about bowing structures the other day, but this part of the storm is bowing out, and it looks like we've got some wind pushing in from the back. So our strongest winds are going to be in this area right here, which, go figure, is where the severe thunderstorm warning polygon is. Let's go ahead and play this radar loop for a minute. What am I doing wrong? So the reason this is lagging is because I've actually got everything I'm doing is through a VPN, but I have basically a program on the computer here that's limiting the amount of internet bandwidth each application can take so that it prioritizes bandwidth and processing speed for the screen capturing. Everything is super limited except for the browser and the software. I forgot to add Omega to the whitelist, so it is really throttling the throughput on this. So that's why we're lagging. I'll fix that. We've got another outflow boundary. Check it out right here. Watch it form right there. Boom, goes north, possibly causing some interaction with the storm. We've now got a little bit of a squall line beginning to form here. This was depicted by models. Oh, boom, another severe thunderstorm warning. Look at that. As this moves off to the east, another severe thunderstorm warning. They are coming out like crazy. This one is until 7 p.m. This is for Seward County and Meade County, for a storm that's near 7 miles west of Kismet, moving east at 30 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and put a storm track on this. I want to see when it's going to be in Kismet. Kismet? Whatever, I don't know. So I'm going to go from the hail core. Guys, it's going to start raining and be windy before this. I'm just going from the strongest part of the storm. So if you're in Kismet, put your car in the driveway, put your trash cans away, because Kismet, you've got 20 minutes before it gets really Really intense. You've probably got about 10, 5 to 10 before you start getting dumped on. Plains, which is out here, you've got about a half an hour. A half an hour before you start seeing some of that hail. Let's go ahead and check the northernmost storm. I don't think we've got... We don't have any populated areas out here. Just a lot of rural folks. So between Copeland and Kismet, you folks have the highest chance of receiving some strong wind. I think the strongest portion of this wind is going to stay north of Highway 54, though. I do believe that the strongest part of the storm will stay north of 54. I'm going to go ahead and loop this. This right now, I'm going to go ahead and say is the most concerning of all these warnings. I don't say concerning because of any tornado threat or anything. I simply say concerning because this looks like it's going to be the highest wind producer. In fact, if we go to the storm velocity on this, we probably can detect some brighter areas. I wonder. Yep, right there. Boom. About 55 mile per hour gusts. And where is our radar site? Our radar site's up here. Oh, that's a storm track. I want to measure the distance to our radar site from that. 40 miles. Okay, so I would probably say that this is relatively accurate. We definitely probably have at least 60 mile per hour winds mixing down to the ground there as well. Hang on, I just discovered a new feature. About to blow y'all's minds. Whoa. Hang on. Apparently there's a linear mode for the storm track. Oh, that is so cool. All right, so we don't have to do this in a goofy way anymore. Okay, so folks, here's the deal. Here's when the storm is going to be. The leading edge of the storm is going to be in your area if you're in southeast Kansas here watching me. Hobart, 6:40 p.m. Colano, 6:40. Plains at 6:42. Kismet at 6:53. Meade at 6:56. Fowler just at about 7:10 p.m. There's about 3,500, only about 3,500 people out in the path of the storm right now. Awesome, awesome tool. Thank you, Omega, for including that in there. That is awesome. Let's go ahead and get a list of our warnings right now. Severe thunderstorm warning, just to recap, for Carson, Armstrong, Potter, Randall, and Lipscomb, Texas. Severe thunderstorm warnings for these counties in Kansas: Seward, Meade, Haskell, and Gray. Our severe thunderstorm warnings up here in Nebraska have expired. Otherwise, look at this. We've got a pretty quiet radar picture. Let's go down. We got some activity in the peninsula of Florida. Oops. We've got some strong storms impacting parts of Florida from Orlando down here to east of the Fort Lauderdale and Miami down there in the Everglades region. Check that out. Strong storm just west of Miami, right along Highway 41 there. Strong thunderstorms up here near Orlando and Kissimmee. But all these little blue boxes all over the place, those are special weather statements. Basically, those are strong thunderstorms that don't meet criteria of severe thunderstorms. So the National Weather Service puts out these special weather statement polygons, basically just as a heads up, there's a strong thunderstorm in the area. Amarillo, your severe thunderstorm is now east of town. If you're in Amarillo, you're done. It's over with. Strongest part of the storm is between 287 and I-40, moving off to the east. Got a strong thunderstorm here near Memphis that now has a special weather statement. I mentioned that about 15 minutes ago. It's now a special weather statement bound. Got another storm that down here near Brownfield, Texas, between Brownfield and La Mesa. That is now a special weather statement. It bears a special weather statement now. Severe thunderstorm warning hangs on for another 30 minutes for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds near Higgins up here in the extreme northeast Texas panhandle. We've got another strong storm developing between Perryton and Higgins. That's a pretty rural area out there. I doubt we have anybody watching there. That is an extremely rural area. And of course, our severe thunderstorm warning between Sublette and Liberal, Kansas, all the way out in portions of Highway 56 and Highway 54 in southwest Kansas. Strong thunderstorms near Hayes in north central Kansas. And a couple of strong thunderstorms that are no longer severe thunderstorms, are just strong, near Cozad and Lexington. And then we've got another strong thunderstorm down here near, what is the name of the town again? Kingston? Kensington. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I am going to put the chat on screen. I actually need to allow my YouTube short to go live. So stand by here on that. So I hope everybody is having a good evening. I am planning on storm chasing here later on in the week in just a couple of days. Make sure you're subscribed and following those so you get those notifications. You don't want to miss it. We put a lot of work into the live streaming. We're out there with like 5 carriers, cellular carriers trying to get that 1080p 60 FPS video through. So I'm going to leave me up on, I'm going to leave me up on screen here for just a minute. As I release the short. Let me write a quick description for this. And we'll be back here to live severe weather coverage. I didn't do my homework. I should have done this before. I apologize. One of these days I will learn to do this stuff ahead of time. Good Lord. But I do like having the chat on screen. I wish I could figure out a way to leave this all the time, but there's only so much real estate. The problem is, I wish I could push a different stream for phone users and PC. Because if you're on a computer or a TV, this is fine. But if you're on a phone, it's really tough to see it all. Oh my goodness. I don't know what happens if I publish a video while I'm live. I don't know if that means it's going to do really well or really bad. Please work. So most of my viewers are actually online at this time, believe it or not. Yeah, YouTube says the majority of my viewers on Tuesday are online between 5 and 6 p.m. Central. Okay, so I just released a new YouTube short. You can go ahead and watch it when we're done if you want, or I'll actually have the same thing up on TikTok later. But I want to go ahead and show you just a real quick preview. If you're looking for YouTube Shorts, I do believe if you go to my channel, it's not going to focus on that. Like on your phone, and just click on videos. I think the shorts do still show up.
Watch it. I make a right hand.
Here is one of our new YouTube shorts. And the reason we're doing these TikTok style videos is because the way the YouTube algorithm works is it only shows my videos to people that it thinks are into my videos. So in order for us to basically discover and tap into people that might not know they like our videos, YouTube Shorts is great because people are like, oh wow, that's a tornado, that's cool. This guy drives into tornadoes. Heck yeah! They push the subscribe button. The next time we're live, they get a notification and they start watching it. And one of two things happen: either they're like, hey, that's really cool. I'm gonna start watching this guy, or two, they're like, this guy really sucks. I'm gonna unsubscribe, and that's fine, and they'll never see it again. But we gain a subscriber, so that's why we're tapping into the shorts market. The problem is I have a limited amount of shorts content that I can post. I also have a limited amount of tornado videos that I can post because we only might see, like this year we only saw like 4 photogenic tornadoes. Like we saw a bunch, but only 4 that were like really good caught on camera. So it's really tough to make videos like that. So shorts is a good way to do that as well. And we are going to put all these, like I said, in TikTok as well because that's what the kids are on these days. And there is a link to follow us on my website for that as well. Let's take a real quick look back here at the radar. I currently see 4 yellow boxes, 4 severe thunderstorm warnings on my map. 2, which we're going to consider this 1, it's the same storm up here, between Liberal and Dodge City, Kansas, and southwest Kansas. We've got this one here in extreme northeast Texas Panhandle, and this one down here still for parts of the Amarillo metro area, but it is moving out of Amarillo. Do I think tomorrow we'll get an enhanced risk? Probably not. How can I see tropical on radar scope? You can't. They don't have any layers or overlays for that. Let's see here. I want to do a real quick advertisement for our website. You can go to our website. We've got lots of items here. If you are interested in the social media and finding where I am and how to follow me, it's these buttons right up here: Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram we don't do a lot on right now, but that's changing. You can shop our merchandise. We actually have a bunch more that's going to be added soon. This gives you 6 of some of our most ordered items, but you can go down here and click shop the entire store. Sponsorship opportunities. We are redoing the car wrap soon. You can support live storm chasing right here. Become a YouTube member. This takes us right to the YouTube membership page. And then, of course, contact us and join the Discord server right there. Okay. Radar Omega tutorials. I am waiting on Radar Omega to release some video tutorials. They are working on it. Just out of respect for them and it being their product, I'm trying to wait and see what they develop here over the next month or so. But they are working on that. Don't know if tornado season starts in March or September. Well, some days I'm kind of wondering that myself these days. It's been a very atypical year for severe weather, that's for sure. We had a lot of severe weather earlier this spring. New severe thunderstorm warning for nickel-sized hail and 70-mile-per-hour winds. Man, this is right where we would have been if we were storm chasing today too. This polygon is new. It's for Meade, Kansas. Let's go ahead and recap. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings for Carson, Armstrong, Potter, Randall, and Lipscomb counties in Texas. Those are all for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Severe thunderstorm warnings in Kansas for the following counties: Seward, Haskell, Meade, Gray, all for 60-mile-per-hour winds. And then we've got one severe thunderstorm warning in Kansas for Meade and Gray County for 70-mile-per-hour. And that's this box right here. If you live in this area between Highway 54 and Highway 56, right through here, you could see 70-mile-per-hour winds here over the next couple of minutes. Have we really been live for an hour and 28 minutes? Have we really been live for an hour and a half? No way. What's the weather like in... Where? I gotta Google that. Will I be live tomorrow? Possibly. Not, well, if something changes and it looks like it's going to be a day that we need to chase, we'll be live out there. If there's some severe thunderstorms, I'll do my best to be live. Oops. Not mean to move our overlay like that. Yeah, if we had a couple of trolls in the chat, if you guys really think that I'm gonna pull a David Schlotthauer and say names of towns like that, believe me, good luck, because I have learned my lesson. Yeah, Dan, I'm pretty quick with that, especially when I'm here. But these storms definitely look like they are some wind producers. The southern end of this line is starting to get going right here. We've got a lot of lightning activity approaching Highway 54. Amarillo, we've got news. Amarillo's severe thunderstorm warning is canceled or expired. Look at how fast this storm has moved away. No longer a severe thunderstorm warning for the Amarillo storm. These ones up here in the northeast Texas Panhandle, near Highway 305 and Highway 60 near Higgins, are still ones that we need to keep an eye on. Still remaining severe thunderstorm warning. But hopefully everybody is having a good time here. We're actually pulling a couple more viewers, and this is a tough time for us to stream here in the evenings, especially with school and stuff being in session, people in college. I'm going to try to stay live here until about 7 p.m. I think eventually what's going to happen is our main area of concern is going to end up being here. Down here, I think it's going to start to fizzle out, and up here will be pretty scattered. But I think these areas down here need to be watched most closely. So I'm going to take a look at tomorrow's forecast reflectivity. Now, this is just one solution that this model, which is a little bit finicky, this model thinks will happen. This is a simulation of what it believes the radar will look like. And if we actually play out through tonight, you can see that it does form our squall line at about 7 p.m. So it's a little bit late with the formation of the squall line. But overall, I would say it's verifying. So we do have a squall line. So if we look at what it thought was going to happen versus what's actually happening, it's pretty close. So it is expecting these storms to begin pretty much diminishing here by about 10 p.m. and then fully diminishing just after midnight. But I would expect this this line of storms to start kind of gusting out and losing some of its steam. If we go ahead and page through to tomorrow, this is tomorrow afternoon at about 4 or 5 p.m. And we're watching this area up here where that slight risk for severe weather is western Nebraska. You can see some storms beginning to fire and form. And they're moving off to the east. Now we've got a cluster or a small line of storms, including a couple of maybe supercell looking storms up here along the South Dakota Nebraska border. Those are ones to watch. And that just is a pretty generic squall line by about 10 p.m. moving off to the east. Now, if we want to go way out in future inaccuracy land, keep an eye here in Iowa. We're going to go way out to Saturday's possible severe weather. Now, take this lightly. There are so many other things we can look at. This is just one possibility on the model. NAM shows potential supercells firing around 6 p.m. in western Iowa near Omaha and up here near Sioux City. And then forming a squall line pretty quickly by about 8 or 9 p.m. And then tracking that all the way through Des Moines. How super are those cells? Not very. Definitely not very. Which is probably a good thing. I don't know why our chat doesn't always want to load on screen. It's kind of weird. I'm gonna check and see how many views our short got, just for the heck of it. Just for fun. view. Okay, I don't think the view counter is accurate at the moment. Interesting. Okay. So if you are just joining me, we are doing live severe weather coverage here from the studio in southern Wisconsin. And a new severe thunderstorm warning was issued for south of Lubbock, Texas. Just can't catch a break out here, can we? We're going to be streaming for at least another 10 to 20 minutes. Update here on these warnings. New severe thunderstorm warning. This is that one that was once warned. Hang on here. 1 second. I messed something up. Not the first time. The problem that I'm having right now is Final Cut exporting a huge 360 video in the background. And I mean huge. And it's taking up a lot of the performance right now. I can end a couple of those processes. Opinions on Detroit, Michigan? Don't even get me started. Unless you're talking about severe weather potential. Sorry, we have so many trolls in the chat. I can't I can't ever keep track of anything. No, severe weather potential in Detroit is very minimal. We've got a storm with intense lightning. There is a major lightning barrage going on right now, northwest of La Mesa, Texas. Look at all these cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. Every grid is filled with them. Severe thunderstorm warning for 1 inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds here. Doesn't include La Mesa. It's for Gaines County and Dawson County. Like southeast of 15. Okay, Mungerville, Texas. You've got until 7:19 to prepare for the leading edge of this thunderstorm. La Mesa, all the way down here at the intersection of, I believe it's 87 and 180. You folks have until 7:50 p.m. Central Time. Is that right? Wow, it is right. Something tells me that's not. No, I guess it is right. La Mesa, you've got another hour to prepare here in La Mesa for the leading edge of this thunderstorm. Los Yabanes, you've got over an hour. It's about 11,000 people out in front of this thing. Yeah, really intense possible hail core right there between Ashmore and Welch. Okay, so severe thunderstorm warning south of Lubbock. Severe thunderstorm warning in extreme northeast Texas Panhandle, and severe thunderstorm warnings near Dodge City. We now have another severe thunderstorm warning. I just need a break. Weather Service, come on. 1.75, so 1 3/4 inch hail and 70 mile per hour winds here. This is a new severe thunderstorm warning for Seward and Meade County in southwest Kansas until 7:45 p.m. local time, Central Time. Just now, a severe thunderstorm is located near Kismet, moving east at 30 miles per hour for golf ball sized hail and 70 mile per hour wind gusts. Law enforcement, so golf ball hail was reported at 6:50. So it sounds like the cops have found large hail, probably cracked their windshield or something. So the cops have reported golf ball size hail confirmed with this storm. It'll be near Kismet at 7:05 p.m. I've got just a big mass of severe thunderstorm warnings here. Mineola. So go ahead, guys. I'm going to go ahead and do some future casting here. Take this lightly. If these storms hold together, Ashland, Meade, of course, Mineola, you folks probably should prepare for potentially strong straight line winds and maybe some hail. Anybody that's in this corridor of I-54, actually, stop. If you're in this purple box, you are not under a severe thunderstorm warning. But the leading edge of this thunderstorm is right here. We can see the gust front, the wind. It's charging out to the east. I don't know how long this storm is going to stay severe or how long it'll stay this potent. However, this storm is going to be moving into this area here. Definitely need to keep an eye on it. You folks probably should just, put the trash cans away, put the car in the garage anyway, just to be safe. But don't cancel your plans just yet. I can almost guarantee that everybody in this purple area is going to get a downpour. This intensifying down here near Liberal. Interesting. However, how severe of a storm you get is still up in the air. Just be mindful over the next, especially couple hours. So I'm not going to show this on Twitter because I think I technically can if it's in the context of the tweet. But just out of respect for other storm chasers, Marcus Reynolds, storm chaser Marcus Reynolds did. Hang on. Marcus Reynolds is a storm chaser, and he is down near Amarillo, friend of mine. And it looks like he's got video confirmation here on his Twitter of a brief tornado south of the Amarillo airport about 15 minutes ago. And looking at the video, gosh darn it, I'm trying to full screen it on my secondary monitor. It definitely looks like a tornado. I'm going to say that he definitely did catch a tornado. So it looks like we've got, I'm going to say unconfirmed because I wasn't there, but the video is pretty persuading. It looks like there may have been, or likely has been, a brief tornado that lasted about a minute just south of the Amarillo airport about 15 minutes ago. That would have been about 6:40, 6:45 from Storm Chaser Marcus Reynolds. And again, I'm not going to show that on screen because as a Storm Chaser myself, I would be really upset if somebody was doing that because I am, of course, gaining revenue off of this. But I am going to go ahead and relay his report. He did tag the Weather Service. So it sounds like that storm in Amarillo may have actually produced a tornado. I can't really tell because of the low quality of the video on my screen and Twitter. Um, it it doesn't have a whole lot of detail, but it definitely is a possible tornado. It could have been like a gustnado or something, or like a landspell, but there's definitely ground circulation. So I think he's right. It's probably a severe thunderstorm or tornado produced out of that severe thunderstorm briefly. No longer on the ground. Obviously, it was about 15 minutes ago. There was that storm down there near Amarillo that we were covering, and again, storm chaser Marcus Reynolds on Twitter. It was video proof. Drew says hi. I can share. God dang it. How do I do this? Holy smokes, Drew. I think, let me just make sure. Okay, no personal info. We need Drew's setup. Look at all those monitors that we could use. I only have three. I have a vertical monitor for chat, the main monitor, and then one up here that don't tell anybody, but it runs WSV3, which I'm not a fan of. But the only reason I'm running it is because that's just what's on the computer, and I haven't gotten around to upgrading that. That Amarillo storm is there, and I did tweet back to Marcus. Marcus is a storm chasing friend of mine that I am covering it. He might say, hey, go ahead. If he says go ahead and show it on stream, then I'll do it. But I want to obviously wait out of respect for him for his permission. But if you want to go follow him, he is at Marcus Reynolds 19 on Twitter. I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat. But here is another look at that storm south of Lubbock. And it looks a little bit healthier than it did. We've been watching this one ever since it was a special weather statement. This has been south of Welch and Ashmore, but this is a really, really rural area until we get to Highway 180 and La Mesa. In fact, I think we saw a tornado. I think we saw a tornado right out here somewhere this year. I would have to go back and look. But this storm is pretty stout. It's 1-inch hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds for Gaines and Dawson County. Radar Omega gives us the ability to look at velocity and reflectivity at the same time. And you can see we've got an area of some inflow and outflow mixing right here. So the left side of the screen, I think, yeah, it's the left side for you. That's this side. The left side for you, that's reflectivity. That's the rain or the precipitation. The other side, which is this side here, that's the wind. Now somebody I saw just on Twitter as I was scrolling there that, oh my goodness, there's huge rotation near Cedar Lake, and I just see it's right there. Guys, I wouldn't call this huge rotation. This is basically what I would call like broad mixing. This is probably just a strong updraft or a mesocyclonic storm. You can see we've got a bit of a lightning barrage, all these little lightning bolts here, and this is only in the past 5 minutes. So in the app, I'm able to take the radar or the lightning data and say I want bolts for the past 20 minutes or the past 5 minutes, 15, 1 hour, or whatever. But these are just the past lightning bolts here. So I would say we've got a pretty strong updraft here, and definitely a possible hail core right in the purple here, some higher reflectivity values. I'm going to go ahead and loop this. I hope the computer can handle it here because, like I said, I am limiting resources here on Omega by mistake because I have all the resources directed for the CPU and the GPU to my vMix software. But it is handling it fine. You can see right here, this is Ashmore and Welch. Again, this is the same storm, just split. On the left, we have reflectivity, which is precipitation. On the right, we've got the velocities of the wind so I would say our strongest wind is going to be right in this area here, just north of 180. And our hail is, of course, going to be pretty much coincided with that as well, just southwest of southeast of Ashmore. Long shot. We probably don't have anybody out there, but if we do have anybody out there, put your car in the garage. And I've been saying this all evening, and I'm going to keep saying it because I don't know what else to say with these storms, because they're not super exciting, if you will. Put the trash cans away. Mungerville, you're the next populated area, and I don't even know how populated you are. You don't look very populated. Mungerville, you are next in line for that storm. A couple of storms here near Hobbs, New Mexico, and some out there along the 82 and the between 82 and 180. Not severe at this time, but I'm going to keep an eye on those. Special weather statement remains in effect for our previous Amarillo storm. I'm not really concerned about this anymore. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that actually did produce a tornado per his tweet, albeit brief. Between Perryton and Higgins and northeast Texas, that is really, really not much of a storm anymore. Let me switch radar sites to Dodge City, which is, I guess, the closest one. Yeah, this thing is just not very interesting. If you're in Shattuck or Higgins, I wouldn't worry about this thing. You can. Once again, in fact, I will bet you folks anything the special weather statement says to bring in trash cans. Let's see here. Do not drive through flood. It does not. So I know my local weather service office here in Milwaukee, in almost every special weather statement, it is protocol to put in there a line that says, gusty winds will cause trash bins to blow around. It's like almost every special weather statement. So I was hoping it was going to be in one of these, but I don't see it, just for the heck of it. Well, this one does say that gusty winds could cause objects to blow around. So that counts, right? But no trash can warning on this one, but I would still be a little bit prepared for basically a nuisance storm. These special weather statements are typically just nuisance storms. And a special weather statement, a really big one, was just issued. It includes the Dodge City area, a fairly populated area there in Kansas. It's the blue polygon there out ahead of the red one for gusty winds. And I think they've got that in effect for 50 to 55 mile per hour winds and blowing dust. So we could get a wall. Well, I shouldn't say a wall. We could get a... What's a word without saying what I want to say? We could get an area of a lot of blowing dust out ahead of the storm. It's 7:01, so basically now radar is tracking strong thunderstorm outflow winds with areas of blowing dust that's reducing visibility from Cimarron to Fowler to Meade. That's that line of severe warning storms. Gusty winds could knock down tree limbs, blow around objects, and sign at 7:05 and howl at 7:10. And Dodge City, you are in the path of the storm. It is dry out there, so there could be some dust associated. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and turn off the polygons here. Oops. I forget how to do this sometimes. Weather alert settings. I just turned off the severe thunderstorm warnings. Now you can see right here, we've got what I would call a gust front right here. Check that out. Outflow, whatever. That's a wall of probably dust, and you'll see it form here in a second once I loop this. Bam, there it's shedding out ahead of that storm. Basically what this storm is doing is it is shedding some cooler, more moist air. All the rain and the wind is coming out of this storm. It hits the ground, it goes out ahead of it. It picks up bugs, water droplets, debris, leaves, dust, a lot of dust. And we can pick that up on radar, especially when we're close to the radar site, kind of like that picture I showed you earlier. So there definitely is, I would say that's probably the dust that they're talking about, is ahead of the storm right here being picked up by radar. This is also where we can probably see some of the stronger winds. So once again, these winds may precede the actual precipitation of the storm. That's why when these severe thunderstorm warnings get issued, oftentimes a lot of folks will say, I was caught off guard, it started storming, or it got windy before it even stormed. Well, that's why, because these winds actually push out ahead of the storm and they catch people off guard. That's why a lot of times the National Weather Service will issue these warnings way out ahead of these storms. When we get a really strong squall line like we did a couple of times, like back in the Dakotas this year, they'll put these severe warnings. Like we could have our line of storms here and they'll be warning all the way out here, an hour and a half ahead, because they know that this area of strong wind is ahead of the storm. So that's oftentimes why we see that. I know a lot of people often ask when I'm actually storm chasing, why is there a severe thunderstorm warning so far out? Well, that's why, because sometimes we get these gusty winds before the storm. Sometimes we can pick this up on velocity as well. And yeah, we can. We can see a little bit of a gradient right here. So there's our wall of some dust. I'm not going to call it a haboob or a dust storm or anything, but definitely a lot of blowing dust. And you can see we've got an area of some strong wind right there, and that is right here. And that would coincide pretty well with, where this wall of, or this area of wind is pushing out ahead of the storm. So Mineola, you're probably about to get this area of wind here pretty shortly. This area that's just north of Liberal, between Liberal and Kismet, might be some bigger hailstones in there. That's a pretty intense area of reflectivity that has actually been upgraded. This warning is now for 2-inch hail. So 2-inch hail and 70 miles per hour. That's 70 mile per hour wind. That thunderstorm is near Hain and it's moving southeast at 15. And law enforcement. So the cops are reporting large hail. Probably getting windshields blown out. This is moving at how fast? 15? What's our warning speed up here? Our speed up here. Hold on, guys. I will check the chat in a second. 15 to 25. I'm not going to draw a storm track on that because it does vary, but this entire area right here is where our strongest wind is, and it's pushing off to the north or to the east. So if you are out ahead of this line and you're not in a warning, you should still be prepared. If you've got outside plans or whatever, just hold off on them. The rain's not going to last all night, even though it's starting to get dark out soon. But still, you guys want to be prepared because this wind is out ahead of the line. Again, no tornado threat with, well, very, very, very minimal. There's always some tornado threat, but there's really not. There's always tornado threat with every storm. It might be 0.001%, but this is 99.9% of damaging wind threat here. And maybe some hail, especially with the southern cluster. So if you are, and boom, another severe thunderstorm warning. If you are south of this line that I'm drawing right here, and north of the border, this box, you're probably going to get the most chance at some hail. Up here, it probably has a stronger chance for wind. Yeah, it is very dry in this area. When do you think the fall fronts will start in the south? I don't know. It'll probably be pretty soon. I would give it at least a week. We've got this big heat wave we've got to deal with first. A couple of weeks, I'm sure. What does radar indicated severe thunderstorm warnings mean? Is it radar? Okay, so if we look at data right now, I'll cover this warning. Liberal, you now have a warning. Let's look at this warning right here. It's for 70 mile per hour wind, okay? So what radar indicated means is National Weather Service is looking at the same data that we are right now. Now, they're not using radar Omega. They're using most likely AWIPS, which is basically just, it's this, but basically the Weather Service. They have their own radar viewer. In fact, it's less detailed than this. But they're looking at data just like this. So they're looking at velocity. This is the same stuff that the Weather Service is going to look at. So they're looking at areas like right here that have this bright reflectivity. So what that is, or these bright velocity returns. So you can see these bright colors indicate stronger wind. Oh, I didn't know I could do this. So if we back the radar up, we can see right here we had a pocket of really strong wind. Now how do I get out of this? Oh, Lord. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I apparently don't know how to use this as well as I thought. There we go. All right. So they're looking at this area and they're saying, okay, so the radar is saying that there's roughly 60 mile per hour winds here. Let's say 1,000 feet up above the surface. Well, more than that. Let's say 2,000 feet up above the surface. So it's plausible to believe that we could have stronger winds at the surface. So that's basically radar indicated. The radar is detecting these strong winds. Now, if it's spotter reported or ground truth reported or law enforcement reported, that just means that somebody has actually measured or experienced the wind. Tim says, is radar Omega easier to work with on a Windows computer or a Mac? I don't think it matters too much. I typically work on a Mac, which is what we're on now. I haven't had an issue with either. I'm not sure if it's written in Chromium or what, but it's a pretty efficient. Basically, if you can run the Chrome browser, I mean, it seems to use like the same resources. So if you can run Chrome, Discord, whatever, you can probably run Omega. I've run it on some really low spec tablets before, so it's really not a problem. At least I haven't noticed a difference. It used to be not as good when they used to use Google Maps as a provider, but they use Mapbox now, which is much quicker. It used to be a long time ago, like 2.5, 3 years ago, when you would move the map, it would repopulate everything and it would take forever. But everybody dealt with it because it was the first app with actual like radar data that you can use to make critical decisions that actually has all these roads in it. Radar Scope has it. It has had detailed roads, but not like this. I mean, we can zoom way in, and you can literally use this like Google Maps. So when I'm storm chasing, I can be like, oh, I'm coming up to this road here. I got to make a left turn. I don't use Google Maps when I'm storm chasing unless I need turn by turn. I actually use Omega. So that's it. Even though it's running a lot of mapping in the background here, I don't know if it caches it, downloads it and caches it or what, but it's really efficient at that. So I don't think you would have any issues on either platform. Liberal, Kansas. This is a new severe thunderstorm warning for 2-inch hail, 70-mile-per-hour wind. Seward County and Meade County in southwest Kansas, again until 8 p.m. So it's 7:08, about 7 minutes ago, a severe thunderstorm near Hain was moving southeast of 15. 2-inch hail and 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That's basically an extension of this warning to its north. It's for this storm that's moving that way. There's even a special weather statement here between Hooker and Beaver, Oklahoma. Couple of strong thunderstorms peppered all over the radar screen here northwest of Dodge City. All these special weather statements here. Even these storms could be a bit of a nuisance storm as well. JL Painters says a tornado missed him by, or her. Sorry, I don't know what JL could be. John, Julie, Jessica, Jamie, who knows. Let's see here. A tornado missed them by 1.5 miles earlier this year. It got extremely windy. Would it have been RFD or just wind? It could have been RFD. It depends where you were in relation to the tornado. If you were south and southeast of the tornado, it probably was RFD coming around. Even if you were in front of it, sometimes if the tornado moves a little bit left when it strengthens or is about to end its life cycle, if it's a strong enough tornado, we'll get that deviant motion like we saw in the Crowell tornado, and it'll actually hook back up into the supercell. I'll draw you a picture on the next stream, and it'll be a good one, better than the radar picture I drew earlier. It'll hook back in. You actually could have got that RFD coming around. But if you were within 1.5 miles of a tornado, it probably was RFD, especially if you were getting a sudden surge of wind and wet precipitation. Well, I guess precipitation is wet. Wind and rain, a big surge of it coming around, almost like it was coming up around the tornado. That probably was the RFD. But either way, if you were within 1.5 miles of it, if you got any pictures, send them our way. It's, at least you're safe. That's the most important part. Yeah, if you're southeast of it, I would say so as well. Yeah, you probably got the RFD. What do most storm chasers use for directions? Oftentimes, the mapping on radar software like this is great. Otherwise, Google Maps. We can use maps like actual paper maps if we have to, but typically like Google Maps or just something like this. Yeah, Waze is all right. Is it scary to be in a tornado? For me, it's not. For a lot of people, it is. Where was this tornado at that you were close to? I'm kind of curious just for the heck of it. I just wonder if we were there. Severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for La Mesa, Texas. 1-inch hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Guys, my throat is really dry. I am so tired of talking and rattling out these warnings. Where is David? We got to get David on here. David can be our weather radio. Or maybe Nikki can. I don't know where she's at. She's not in the chat today. Upshur County, Texas. Let's see where that is. Oh, right in here. We might have been. There was some there was several times we were up here chasing in that area. Radar Scope app is indicating a rotation near Liberal, Kansas. Okay. Let's see here what we're seeing. I'm not seeing a whole lot of, I guess. So what he's talking about is these greens and reds that are close together. Now, essentially, the reason for the different colors, green and red, indicate outbound and inbound. So wind going from the radar and wind going to the radar. It's two-dimensional in a way. So we don't say, so it's not going to be like, oh, this wind is crosswise from the radar. No. So the radar beam, sorry, I forgot you can't see my finger. Radar beam is coming this way. That's why we need a green screen. And wind is either going toward or away. And these reds and greens indicate that in this area, there's some wind going toward and away. Now, if we think of this mesocyclone on a big scale, a circle would literally have one side being going toward and one side going away. So that's why we can visualize rotation. I wouldn't really call this like, I mean, maybe, but I would call this more of like mixing. This is an area that we would kind of want to watch though, because if there was a tornado threat, if we had enough shear, directional wind shear or spin in the atmosphere, we would definitely be wanting to watch the cell because it is tail on Charlie. It's got access to those unobstructed southeast inflow winds. Good catch. That's definitely an area that we would want to watch, but it's also definitely, it looks like we got a heck of a hail core. See, do we have anything else that's catching my eye? Oh, we have, are you kidding me? All right, we've got a first on the channel. We have never covered a severe thunderstorm warning in the Great Salt Lake Desert, but let's do it. National Weather Service Salt Lake City has issued a severe thunderstorm warning in Utah. How long has this been out? It's been out a couple of minutes. I missed this one on my screen. So a severe thunderstorm was located 8 miles northwest of the Utah Test and Training Range South, or 21 miles southeast of Wendover, moving northeast at 25 miles per hour, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and quarter-size hail. This does include Interstate 80 in Utah between mile markers 19 and 21. So for bearings, we are in Utah. Here is Salt Lake City. There's the Great Salt Lake, and off to our southwest is our severe thunderstorm warning over the very, very open, barren, rural landscape of the Great Salt Lake Desert, not really bothering anybody. There's not even any roads out here. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's definitely middle of nowhere. Looks like it might have some hail in there. Those purple areas, those higher reflectivity areas. All right, so I'm going to stay live here till at least 7:30. At least 7:30. At least cover these. I want to see mainly what happens here with our severe warnings in southwest Kansas. Let's go ahead here and go to the national composite. Quite a bit of rain happening up here in the northern arrowhead of Minnesota. Or the arrowhead of Minnesota, up across the international border into Canada. Rainfall warnings up there in Canada from those storms. What's the population count of the polygon? I don't have it at the moment. I could find it on Twitter probably, but it's probably like 0. Scariest natural disaster to be in? I would say probably a wildfire would be my guess. That's pretty terrifying. How long after sunset does severe weather usually keep going? It depends. It can go all night, or it can start to wane at sunset. A lot of times around sunset, the low-level jet will kick in, so these lower and mid-level wind fields will start increasing as the nocturnal cycle begins. It's sometimes that can actually enhance severe weather potential, but it all depends really on many factors. Sometimes we can get, especially big intense squall lines can go all night. We can get derechos that go for almost 24 hours. So typically we start to see severe weather die off around or just after sunset, but sometimes in some cases we can still continue to get tornadoes and severe weather after sunset. In fact, it's not rare at all. It's not rare at all. It's actually pretty common, but it's more common to see the severe weather start to go away after sunset. That's because we start losing that surface heating. Storms that continue after sunset are typically more elevated, which means they're not getting their inflow or their fuel from the actual surface layer. They're getting it up above. So there's almost like a boundary or a zone of air between the bottom of the storm where the air is going up or the fuel is going up into the storm and the actual surface. There's like a cushion there. So typically, with the loss of surface heating, there will be a temperature inversion where it oftentimes can be a little bit cooler or warmer at the surface than it is aloft. So we'll get those elevated storms. And typically, those elevated storms don't produce tornadoes. Sometimes you can get an elevated storm that will become surface based very, very rapidly if it's got a strong mesocyclone. That's happened a couple of times. I can't recall the exact instances, but I can think of two specific times in about the past 3 or 4 years where I've been chasing an elevated supercell, and bam, within like 4 radar scans, the thing was tornado warned. So just because we have elevated storms at night, we still have to pay attention to them. So that's actually a really good question. We'll have to do a question and answer event again one of these nights. What would cause a storm with no rain but 30 to 45 minutes of wind gusts between 60 and 70 miles per hour? It could have been out. It honestly could have been. You could have experienced like an outflow boundary, like we were talking earlier down near Amarillo. You could have had a thunderstorm that died or decayed. It literally dumped its core, literally just the core fell out of it, and the storm dissipated. It hit the ground and it pushed all that air, all that energy goes out along the surface. So you could have been experiencing that, or a storm that had collapsed. Or it's possible that the storm was, far away and it really had a gust front way out ahead of it. And maybe that storm dissipated before you got the precipitation. So you started experiencing the wind and then just never got the storm because the storm dissipated. There could be several instances of that. Sometimes we'll see these dry thunderstorms out in Phoenix or the southwest U.S. in the desert areas as well. But these areas, these dry thunderstorms can actually pose a wildfire risk too, because we get lightning and wind and all this. And if it's really dry, you can imagine without precipitation and a low precip cell, the wildfire risk that would bring. What mesocyclone strength usually produces tornadoes? I don't know if I know how to answer that, to be honest with you, because I don't really typically know. I mean, we can analyze and say and look at the strength of a mesocyclone on velocity or on radar, but it's really, really tough to, I guess, for me to recall a time when I ever thought, oh, it's got to be, we have to have X amount of gate to gate shear, whatever. So I guess I really don't know how to answer that. So I'm not going to answer that because I don't want to give you wrong information. But basically, if you're looking at radar, I can tell you this. We start getting really bright pixels, or those blocks of color, really bright red and green, those really intense winds, and they're right together. And they're in line with the radial of the radar. So they are literally, if this is the radar beam, we've got red and green in line with the radar radial, or the signal coming out. If it's in line with that, then it usually means we've got a very, very strong mesocyclone, and the weather service probably has a tornado warning on it. A lot of folks talking about the wildfires and such and burns, obviously, fires in the chat there. Yeah, so wildfires are scary. I have chased a couple wildfires simply for content and video projects, and they are terrifying. Because hurricanes are as well. You've got these areas where you're in a hurricane and the storm surge comes in and you can be marooned. Well, okay, you can, although it's not a good solution. Push comes to shove, you can abandon your vehicle. You can get on top of your vehicle. I feel like you've got a higher chance of surviving a storm surge. A wildfire, you are not outrunning that. I feel like storm surge, something goes off in your head, and I've never been in this solution or this situation, thankfully, where I've had to make a decision like this with storm surge or flooding. But there is a time where you're like, okay, it's time to go. Your vehicle is disabled, or you just need to get out of there, or you can't get your vehicle out. You dump the vehicle, you run. You can typically get out of something like that, move to higher ground, whatever. A wildfire, that's not happening. Fire literally will jump like miles. You can get embers and hot pieces of burning material to literally get lofted in the wind and flung miles and then get spot fires. You could literally be surrounded in a donut hole of wildfire in minutes. And that's terrifying. And honestly, I don't like going out after wildfires. A friend of mine, Brandon Clement, He does a lot of wildfire photography and videography, does an excellent job. I don't know how he has the ability to do it as much as he does because it is absolutely terrifying. I got pretty scared last year or the year before. When was that? We had all the wildfires out west. I was out in one of them and I got a little bit intimidated by a couple of them. And you really have to understand meteorology when you're with these wildfires. That's why it scares me when I see some amateur photographers out there like, oh, go take a picture of the wildfire. It's like, no, you've got to understand the meteorology because it is so dangerous. You need to look at winds. You need to look at the actual surface wind observation. You really almost need to have wind speed and direction on your car. You need to have a weather station, I feel, to be safe because okay, the wind, you're like, okay, now the wind is shifted. All right, well, that's going to bring, now the fire line was progressing east. Well, now it's shifted and now the wind is coming from the north. So, and I'm south of the fire. Well, that means the fire line is going to start coming south. So you've really got to pay attention to the weather. And that's why there's so much meteorology involved in wildfires. And it's really dangerous. So that's why I really don't like to get up close and personal. I do like to go out and document them though. And you can do so from a distance with drones. Um, just photography in general because you can see these things from miles away. But wildfires are, I think, would be probably the most terrifying thing you could be in because you can run from a tornado, you can run from a hurricane, but you're not going to get out of a wildfire if you get in a bad spot. Yeah, and Carrie brings up a good point. The other problem is too, sometimes these areas that these evacuees will exit a wildfire from will have been burnt and they're not recognizable. Um, so you can't see road signs. You don't have road signs. You don't have landmarks. If you're used to turning to get on the highway at the Red Barn, well, the Red Barn is no longer there, and there's no longer a highway sign. It's been burnt. You know, people can literally get lost trying to evacuate at the last minute from a wildfire. And luckily, where I'm located, where I live, I won't have to deal with that. Knock on wood. It's we just it's we don't have these grasslands. We just don't have wildfire fuel. But I can't imagine having to deal with that because I mean these folks literally sometimes they get like an hour warning and it's get out or don't ever, which is obviously pretty terrifying. Yeah, I'm not a fire fan. We've got that severe thunderstorm warning here. It has pretty much gusted out, it looks like. No longer warned in the Dodge City, Mineola area, but we do have severe thunderstorm warnings for Liberal and Meade. So I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up this live stream. I need to get a couple of videos released before it's too late to keep the YouTube algorithm up. I am going to possibly be chasing tomorrow. I need to look at the models. If I am, you can watch me obviously on YouTube. I'll probably stream in the app as well. Um, but I will for sure be chasing in some capacity on Saturday for the Iowa event, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and beyond. Also, the severe thunderstorm warning down here near La Mesa, Texas is in effect, and that one out here is remaining in effect in the Great Salt Lake Desert. So thank you everybody for joining the live stream tonight. We do have the Discord server. You're all welcome in. seethestorm.com. I pinned it in the YouTube chat. You're welcome to join the Discord server and talk with folks even when we're not chasing or streaming. Just looking at Twitter here to see if there was any other reports of that. Just remember, we do have Tropical Storm Fiona out there. We did talk about her and covered her with satellite data. You can go ahead and go back through if you would like to in the video. The video should be available just within a couple of minutes of after viewing. But overall, I think the severe weather threat is beginning to wind down. Right now, it looks like the most severe weather threat is for portions of central Kansas. All right, thanks again, everyone. All of you YouTube supporters and members have made this possible. We do have that new YouTube short out where I talk about leaving my girlfriend in front of a tornado. I didn't mention it in there because I only had 60 seconds, but the reason I kind of just left her in front of it with a camera is because I needed to move the car because I saw the line of storm chasers coming and I did not want to get stuck in front of the tornado. We're going to be releasing re-edited video of the Crowell, Texas tornado from May 3rd, where we kind of purposefully, not purposefully, drove right into it. That's where we lost the back window, but actually captured some cool data with the cyclone port. I have to go back and look at that, but I know Omega did process it. We had like a 50 millibar drop in the tornado, which is actually really cool. So that's kind of neat. And then we're going to be, I think the next one I'm going to release is the Jewel, Iowa tornado from last July. I'm going to try to release that here at the beginning of the upcoming week. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining, and I will see you back here tomorrow, and of course the next day, and the next day, and probably the next day again. So take care, and if you do find yourself under a severe thunderstorm warning, use caution. If any tornado warnings or any high-end severe thunderstorm warnings get issued tonight, I will tweet them out. Alternatively, go follow at Radar Omega on Twitter. Those folks are doing a really, really good job of tweeting out graphics with the radar within a couple of minutes of warnings being issued. Obviously, we're using the application. You can also follow at NWS Severe Thunderstorm, at NWS Tornado as well. The Weather Service tweets out graphics for warnings also. We've actually got them piped into the Discord server also. Make sure you got your weather radios on if you're in any of this area. Take care, everyone, and have an excellent evening. And I'm going to figure out how to end the stream without cutting myself off this time.